Hold tight. Okay, it's saying that I'm live, but I don't see the picture. Like I said, all my stuff is dragging, so give me a sec. Okay, there it goes. Let me minimize this, make sure it's muted. Hold on. Okay, there it is. It's showing the document. Cool. So I can go ahead and minimize this and catch them up because they didn't hear what I said at the very beginning. I want to take this opportunity to share with everyone something called a study guide. When you get an assignment to do something or talk about something or whatever it is, do a study guide on it. It'll give you the ability to speak better on whatever it is that you're trying to convey. So what I've done here is the question last week. I was given requested assignments from you all, and this is one of them: waking up the young people. And I'll just pick up where I left off before I started the recording. One of the hardest things to do at this stage and age is get young people to sit down for 10, 15 minutes and have a open or critical conversation. So you have to use the tactics of what they're used to. And actually, I'm speaking to all of you on this call. Social media and pretty much some conversation has really taken hold to the point where that's where everyone goes for information. Television is no longer that point. At one time it was. A long time ago, it was the radio. Some type of media is in place to allow people to interact with information and understanding it. Education and awareness. So, education and awareness and waking up young people, I think, like I said here, social media campaigns utilizes platforms like TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. Not so much Twitter anymore, which is X, but it used to at one time. Most everything is on TikTok and Instagram, but there's so much filth and clutter on there. It's very difficult to get a message across that's that has meat and potatoes to it. But unfortunately, that's the only outlet outside of communication directly that young people work with. Um, Youth-oriented news outlets, there aren't any. Um, these study guides basically are built to give you an idea of what it would take to do it. First, you have to understand what the waking up is. What are you waking up to? So you have to do a little bit of deep dive in first in what arena you're going to wake them up in. Is it paying attention to politics, politicals? Is it paying attention to the environment, who's around you, what these people are doing? Is it education? Again, the very first thing, you know me, education and awareness, you have to at least know something about whatever direction you're going to try to wake somebody up in. Okay, so engagement through participation. You know, I do that to you right here on this call. I get you to answer questions, or I ask questions to you, or is there any question? Engagement helps you grab more information so that you could have a deeper understanding. So again, you have to chop it down to a smaller portion. Um, you could pick any portion of waking someone up and speak on it, or do a paper on it, or do a video on it. People like videos anymore, shorts, those 20 minutes or 3 minutes, shorts are 6 minutes long. So if you could put all of this waking up information into 6 minutes, you have an avenue. And then it has to be catchy enough that they'll stop and look at it. But you have to kind of trick young people into learning something. Because if they find out that it's something that's teaching, that I'm gone, they want to see somebody falling off of a bike or choking on milk and going out their nose, versus understanding political steps, what it means to be voter registered, what it means to understand your Constitution. Have you read it? Do you understand what it takes to?
Can you pass the party, please? How do you know she's not lying? Why?
Okay, always make sure you're muted when you come to a call. Always make sure, check it twice. Look at your microphone and make sure it's a red line through it. When you come on to the call after you speak or what have you, you should automatically mute. Then we don't have interruptions like that. That's called etiquette. All right, let's learn something. Engagement through participation. You know for a fact that I ask everyone to participate, because when you put your mind into the situation, the question, the media that we're talking about, or whatever it is, whatever section it is, if you start thinking about it, you're engaged, you're participating in it. If you speak on it, you'll remember it. It'll lock in. So like I said, if you're doing a study guide like this, you would do it to whatever subject you've chosen to do a study guide on. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you all this information came out of my head. A lot of it did, the rest was help. You have to do due diligence. Due diligence is actually going to look up certain people, look up certain things, get some information, write it on a different book, and then add it to. So due diligence on waking somebody up, you have to first ask yourself 5 or 10 questions. What do I do? These are my questions to myself. Engagement through participation. These are my questions. Empowerment and representation. You represent the younger people. So if you are going to represent a group of people, which would be the younger generation, you become empowered when you talk about things that younger people are doing. So let's say you decided to do a paper on pollution. How do young people contribute to pollution? So you could do a whole paper on how it's done, where it's done, usually in the urban city, why it's done, because lack of participation in being clean and responsibility, and so on and so forth. You ask yourself 10 questions, and then you make those bullet points, and you take that question and write out things that you think fit under that question. And that's what I've done here. You can do 10 questions, you can do 5 questions, depending on how big the paper is that you want to do. So empowerment by representation. Youth voices in politics. Hasn't happened yet. I hope it happens out of the group here, that you take the opportunity to look at where we are politically, both sides, left and right. I try not to get into that conversation because it gets a little hairy because of people's belief systems. And it's easy to rub somebody the wrong way, but I don't shy away from it either. I think more conversation needs to happen with younger people about politics, because they literally do not know anything about it. mentorship. You see it, mentorship. A mentorship program is what you're on right now, coming to this call every Saturday. This is a mentorship. Hopefully I'm doing you a service by helping you open up your mind and look in a different direction, look within yourself, know that you are capable of doing huge things when your mind is open. Encourage local involvement. We've talked about that on numerous occasions when I talked about starting a business. If you see a need in the community, you create the solution to it. And then you're compensated for doing so. So, that's entrepreneurship, which you're going to be pretty much involved in if you get into some of the things that are outlined here. Addressing barriers. And that's the big one. This is where, like I say on here all the time, when I go into Q&A, ask a question. Let me see if you were paying attention, if you have a mindset on what was discussed, what's your input. I want you to input, because the more you talk, the smarter you become. The more you expose yourself to and allow yourself to be exposed to, the more you soak in. So later on down the road, you'll be asked a question, probably out of this paper, and you'll be able to answer it at a better level of understanding of why that question was asked in the first place. Combating misinformation. Due diligence. If you look it up yourself, never go by what someone else says, even this paper, writing this stuff out or getting this information in one place, still go check it out. Go check out what you think misinformation does to the youth. So if I'm sitting here lying to you about information, what disservice have I done to you? Several things. One, you're going off of misinformation, then creates you to perpetuate the same lie. So if I say Big Bird is blue instead of yellow, you'll start telling people that Big Bird is blue because of whatever else was said. Misinformation is very dangerous because it clouds a person's mindset with garbage, with things that do not exist. So always ask questions. Even if you think you know the answer to it, ask anyway. Clarity in your mind helps you have a better voice. So this is why I push you guys so hard. Ask questions. I want you to ask. That's engagement. Accessibility. Everything is accessible to you because you have cell phones, you have the library, you have school, you have your parents, you have this call, you have uncles, aunts, grandparents, some of you. Ask. Accessibility is everywhere, okay? It's up to you to get the proper information and put it where you think it should be. Okay, the more you dig, that's another part of due diligence. The more you dig on a specific subject, the better you can speak on it. Okay. Cultural and social influence. Cultural. That means, I'm sure you already know, that there are an elaborate amount of different cultures in the United States, in your school, in your city, on your street. Every culture has a different understanding of certain things. Most won't listen to information unless it comes from one of their elders, someone older that's supposed to know better. Again, depends on how they were taught. And if the parents of that elder were illiterate, unable to read, write, then their information and influence would have them dumbed down, okay? Because they couldn't teach them anything because they didn't know anything. So hopefully, waking up the youth, you guys are pretty much, your vocabulary should be in the ceiling. The more you read, the higher your vocabulary is going to be. You have access to the internet. You have access to all sorts of things at your fingertips. So to not be an influencer, or to say I'm not an influencer, is only because you decided not to engage. Okay? Engaging is part of an influencer, just like I'm doing right now. I'm speaking to you on a point, waking up young people. Music, art, culture, pretty much all the same thing. But again, depending on what you listen to or what you allow to influence you, will give you the mindset of that individual. So if you're listening to my number one naughty, which would be rap music, then your focal point and understanding is what that individual thinks about reality. And a lot of them have sold their soul to dirt, to put out the type of music that would bring you down in low vibration and have your mind closed to only think ghetto. Not saying that that's happening to you, but that type of music, that's what it does. Now, you have freedom of speech, you have freedom of this and that, and they allow it because they know it is a negative influence, and it will definitely bring down those who listen to it. If you look at the people who listen to that kind of music and look at how they act, speak, talk, and engage, you would know exactly what I'm saying. Same thing with the pop culture reference. Um, a lot of the information that's in these songs is put in there to close your mind, basically, to put you in a mindset that is completely negative and closed off from anything that's positive. Now, not all rap is in that category. Again, due diligence. You have to look into the music. So if you did a paper on rap, you have to look at all the forms of rap and then ask yourself those 10 questions. You know, what is it? How is it? What does it do? How is it helpful? How is it negative? And then you do your breakdown. Addressing political cynicism. So what is that? So cynicism is basically highlighting success stories, transparent communication, which is very difficult because even the political candidates are incapable of transparent communication. If you've watched any kind of debate, any kind of address the nation, you watch the individual on that screen lie to you for 45 minutes. Not one has told the truth. Not one. Because if they told the truth, a lot of people would not be breathing at this point. So transparent communication is something that you have to do. Are you willing to do transparent communication? And what is it? It's basically being completely 100% honest, even if it's going to disrupt someone's mindset or make them angry. Some people can't handle the truth. A lot of people can't handle the truth. Even though they ask you, well, what do you think I look? How do I look in this outfit? If you actually told them the truth, they'd be upset. So what do? Smudge it, or untransparent conversation. Okay, so it's very difficult to do. But if you put enough work on how you speak on a specific subject, you can be transparent. But you have to be clever on how you use the words and basically the way you lay it out so that a person is looking for the answer of what you're talking about instead of being aggressive to what you're saying. So that takes a little bit of practice on conversation. And I would recommend to all of you to every now and again, go in the bathroom, stand in front of the mirror and talk. No, it's not crazy. No, it is not something that your parents are going to put you in a padded room for, but you have to look at yourself speak. I did it for 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade. 12th grade, I was already working. But 9, 10, 11, every week, Friday, I would have a conversation with myself in that mirror. And what I was doing was, one, extending my vocabulary. I'd have books. I would just speak on a specific subject for 20 minutes, watching how my mouth worked. Did I stutter? Did I do a whole lot of hand moving? That kind of thing helps you grade yourself. Okay. Building trust, very difficult. Very difficult, because it's difficult. Why? Transparent communication is required to build trust. So if you're talking about something, a person first has to believe what you're talking about. Second, they have to be interested in it. Third, they have to believe you. Okay, if they believe you, then you begin to create a little bit of trust in the conversation. And this is what any conversation and all times you speak to someone or in front of people. You create these three things every time. Okay, long-term strategies. Long-term strategies comes in civil education. And when you talk about civil education, you're talking about creating just like I do here, a Zoom call. To come to a Zoom call every Saturday at 4:00. So if you were talking about waking up young people, you would pick a subject and spread it around as far as you can and say, we're going to meet up such and such and have a conversation about this or that. It might start off with 6 or 8 people. Those 6 or 8 people are going to be like, okay, well, we need to bring in some more people so that, the younger group is going to understand what it means to get insurance. Why do you have to have insurance on your car? Why is the insurance going to be high as a student driver? You talk about things that influence or are part of you, the younger generation. And then you ease, once you build the trust with that group of people that meet every such and so, whatever you set up, it could be once a month. Bring a friend. Once a month, bring a friend. Next thing, 10 people turns into 20, 20 then 30. Then you say, okay, well, now we got a real group of individuals that have a mindset of going forward and get off of the other stuff, the negative. Okay? Sustained engagement means to me, right there, encouraging ongoing political engagement. So that means meeting up, just like I just said, and get a wireless microphone. So you don't have somebody have to come up to, the pedestal and talk, or, have to walk him back and forth. You could have a circle of 20 people, one microphone and a speaker, and just pass the microphone. What do you think about teenage car insurance? Get them to engage. And then next week, you could have 10 more people and then get their viewpoint. And then have somebody that likes to write take notes. What you are doing when you do things like that are creating a town meeting. Okay? When you create a town meeting, that means a group of like-minded people, young individuals, are talking about things that matter in the community, in their lives, your lives, and the lives that are coming behind you. Because eventually somebody's going to say, well, let's record it. Let's get in front of a camera. Somebody will put up, grab a phone and start passing the phone around because it has a microphone and everything. You can speak into the phone, your view on whatever it is you guys are talking about. These are the things that young people are not doing. What are they doing? They're going to the mall, they're going to the movies, they're going wherever, doing stuff that, is tearing down the community and that group of people. It takes one. It only takes one to change it or create something that's beneficial. Okay? Conclusion. Engaging young people in a crucial political landscape requires meeting them. As you can see, when I write something, I keep it all locked in. Everything is glued from the last point. I'll share this document with anybody that wants it, but the conclusion is, like I just said, it takes one person to decide to start talking about things that matter. Talk to a friend. Now it's two people talking. Tell the friend, bring a friend next time we talk. Now it's three people. Next time you get together, those three people plus yourself, say we're going to have donuts and whatever. The next time, bring two people each. And what that does is build a community of people thinking of or on a specific subject. And you can go on and on and on. Next thing you know, you're talking about political strategies. You're talking about events that can be put on by young people. You're talking about how to mentor the little young people. There might be some bright minds in that group that are good with numbers, that are good with different topics. You could do an event, mentor the younger people, tutoring, things of that nature. Then you become a benefit to the community. I know I'm talking green grass, rainbows and whatnot. But if you think like that, it'll stay the way it is. It only takes one to decide to go a different route. Let's do this instead of that. You and your friend. And then your friend grabs another friend and you grab another friend. And let's talk about this. Let's try to understand what cryptocurrency is. What's a wallet? How do you move cryptocurrency from one thing to the next? Can you buy stuff with cryptocurrency? You can pick any subject, but do it on a regular basis. That's how you wake up the young people one at a time until you have a group, and then that group expands. Okay? That's first page. Next one. This one. Where did it go? Bear with me. I know I clicked it. All right. I clicked the wrong thing. I only need one person. I just want to make sure you're looking at the same thing I'm looking at. One person, unmute, and let me know if you can see the Project 2025.
No.
That's what I thought. Thank you. So I got to go here, new share. Is it showing now?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. All right. So Moving on to the next subject, Project 2025, AI-driven shopping and wealth building platform. Now, there's a couple different things that are built into this bill. And all of it is not available to the naked eye, and it's done like that for a reason. So I'm only going to cover what I know or was able to dig up. Okay, so objective, enhance the platform capability to create a more immersive, efficient, and wealth generating shopping experience. All of the bills that are passed on the Hill have certain information that they have attached to it that you're able to dig up. Hold on, let me turn this light on. When I put the information in to dig up what I could on this, this is the information that came out. It was a lot bigger than this. So I chopped a lot of it down to just the bullet points. That's what I did for all these papers. The information was 19 pages long on this one. That was too much for a call that should only be an hour. So I grabbed the things that made sense. Target audience. They're talking about the crypto. They want to not allow us to use cryptocurrency. I don't know if you know that or not, but they really do not want to allow it. But the bill says those interested in crypto, wealth generation, and online shopping. That's what the Orange Man is what he's called, without using names because I'm recording, was taught about what it is, and that's kind of where it is leaning towards, but he had nothing to do with this bill. A lot of people think that he created it. It's his agenda and all that. It has nothing to do with him. A lot of the tactics that the people that wrote this bill were put forth to were the things that he said in a lot of his campaign and a lot of what happened when he was in office, the things that he was talking about. They wanted to attach to it and then put their spin on it on the bottom pages. This bill is 4,600 pages long. You heard me. 4,600 pages long. So in order for them to get back at the Orange Man, the front part to which you are looking at on this page is what's available when you look it up. If you don't believe me, put it in Google and click search. You'll see similar information. Platform development, we got into, and there was talk of CBDC, central bank digital currency. That is what they want to use in place of crypto. But if you look at how it's written and what information is available to that, it sounds like they're just talking about regular crypto. It's not. That's a deception. Like I said, it's very difficult for these people to have transparent communication. They lie every time. All of their conversation is deceitful, and there's always an alternative motive on the back end. That's why they make it so long. Who's going to read a document that's 4,600 pages long? It'll take you almost a year. AI enhancement. Now, they're talking all the good stuff. They put it out. wealth building, shopping, automotive. All of the things that Musk has put out, and I can use his name because he's not, it's all good. The things that he put out, the things that he is engaging in and putting on the market, they used on the front part of this bill to make it look good. So everyone is comfortable with knowing that that's what it's about. Crypto integration. All of these things are going to happen. Remember me talking about the quantum financial? That's what they're talking about right here. That's the information that's available when you talk about this understanding of the 2025. Blockchain security. All your monies and things that are going to be moving are on the blockchain. We know this already. Okay, user interface. Now, the user interface is basically a registration, redesign the platform for better user experience. Now, you have to be careful. Like I said, the terminology that's used in the information that's available, you have to read between the lines. Better user experience. How would you make it better? Now remember, the more control they have over you and your finances, the better the experience is. They're not talking about your experience. They're talking about theirs. Now, there was a conversation last week about something called an RFID, which is about probably that big. I don't know if you can see that. That's the front end of a toothpick. Cut that in half. Okay, cut that little piece of wood in half, and that's what they would inject in the web of your thumb and forefinger. There's a muscle there. If you squeeze make a fist, there's a muscle right here. That's where they want to put it, where you could just put your hand over the thing and it would, pay for whatever it is. Now, how do you load it? And what's loaded on it? Remember the words. Remember me talking about the RFID, the platform known as blockchain, the platform known as internet. So they can connect to it via Bluetooth. We use it all day, every day. Your phone has Bluetooth capability. It can connect to any device and electronically or through the air transmit information. What do you think that is? If they put a device in here that says, okay, it's going to read information that's sent to it, and then it holds it just like your phone does. Okay, it's got a memory. All that's inside of a little teeny piece of technology that stick under your skin, and that's where your money goes. That's known as the mark of the beast. A lot of information. Trust me, it gets way, way deep. Let me move on. Partnership, and again, the partnership is retail partners. So when you have that in your hand, you got the partner. Let's say you're going to Dunkin' Donuts, and they said, yes, we're going to accept this RFID stuff, and they're going to work with the CBDC, which they control your funds. And Dunkin' says, yeah, we'll go with that. We'll allow it to work. So you would go into Dunkin' and you would get your food, and you would just put your hand up on the thing, and it go beep, and you pay for it and walk out the door. Moneyless. Okay, walletless. There's no need to carry anything. That's what they want for you. Please understand something. Let's say you got your little thing in your hand or whatever, and you go out and you want to buy a Harley Davidson. That's a motorcycle that usually runs about $60,000, $70,000. Now let's say you have 500,000 on your hand. You go to the Harley dealership and you go up to the register, and you put your hand up there and it goes beep boop. Might be 2 beeps. The second beep is them looking at the purchase. What is it that you're buying that costs $60,000? You're only supposed to be buying food, gas, water, little things. So they're looking at, okay, Mr. Lewis is trying to buy a Harley Davidson, such and such, and it's $72,000. Does he need that? He already has a car. No, he doesn't need it. So they deny the purchase. You put your hand up there again, it says insufficient funds or transaction denied, because they can decide what you spend, when you spend it, and where. That's a CBDC. They're going to tell you, oh, it's the greatest thing. You should have it because your money is where you need it, when you need it. It's not your money. Remember that. If you deposit it into an institution, the institution owns it, not you. Okay, let's move on. Bank and crypto exchanges, I just talked about it. So you can see I put a lot into this. Wealth management firms. What's our wealth management? We're not going to be talking about putting it into a bank. I just talked about that just a second ago. What's our wealth management system? Right? Crypto holdings. Crypto holdings. Okay? I encourage you to all get the paper and just read it. Okay, growth hacking. That's the same thing I was just talking about. If they decide or feel, if you are in a CBDC and you have the chip in hand or wherever they want to put it, then your growth hacking would be them basically saying, you don't need to buy this or you don't need to buy that. You already have a house, you can't buy another one. They basically are hacking your money and they really control it, not you. I personally have had enough of that kind of treatment. So this information is basically standard to someone basically taking over your funds. Okay. Community building, only if the group of people are using what makes them free. If they're not using this and they decide, that the laughing hyena is a good person for to be the president, and they allow her to do it, you can pretty much forget everything. That individual wants you to not have anything and accept it. Like I said, I don't want to get into too much political, so let's go down. Regulatory and compliance. Okay, the regulatory and compliance is the same thing that I was just talking about, RFID or KYC, know your client or know your customer. Same thing. You have to type in, put your information somewhere so they can know who you are and why you're moving these crypto. Okay, that's if it's a CBDC. If it's just crypto, you move what you want, when you want, how you want, when, and put it on yours, not theirs. Legal framework. Legal framework is basically knowing your rights. Work with legal experts. I don't really want to get into that because that would be giving legal advice. But it's on the paper. It's in the paper. You can read it. But I do recommend having an understanding of your rights when it concerns your finances. Look it up. What rights do you have? How are they violated if someone else does what they do? And what can you do about it? Number one, the first thing you can do about it is get out of their system and get in your own. Okay, your own is called the blockchain. That's your new financial institution, because on the blockchain, you can move what you want, where you want, when you want. You don't have to ask anyone. All right. Stability and infrastructure. It's already in place. Blockchain is already on the internet. Performance optimization. That optimization is being able to put it here. And you are in control of doing that when you feel like it. Okay, if we follow the steps that we are laying out here and what we've laid out already, then you should be able to move what you want, when you want, what time you want, without asking. All right, finance projection and funding. Finance projections and funding is basically the same thing. You will fund your own projects. Okay, the revenue is the source. Remember me talking about the revenue or source? That's what that is. Funding requirements, you really don't have any, but you still want to write it out so you can look at what it would take to do what you need to do. Your funding requirement is knowing what you have here and knowing the send address and or the receive address. Okay. Future roadmap, basically you put out what you want to do in the coming years with the funds that you're putting into your bank, with the funds that you're receiving on a daily basis, with the funds that you set up your accounts to pay 3 days early. That's called having a roadmap. Okay, that roadmap is what you decide you're going to do with your finances and write it out. Okay, conclusion. Supposedly an evolution toward crypto. Okay, crypto's already here, so it doesn't have to be initiated. But what does have to be initiated is your understanding of how to use it. Okay, so using the networks, using specific coins, using a wallet, using a debit card that uses cryptocurrency, using a phone so that you can move it to and back, using a bank, knowing its information so that you can move to it and back. That's your objective. That's your understanding of the technology that you're going to be using. Okay, so it has to have all of these points so that when you create, excuse me, when you create your sub accounts or wallets, you know what that wallet is doing and what it's only going to do. And you have to be mindful for using student or let's call it education wallet for stuff education. You can't go into education wallet and buy a surfboard. That money's not for that. And what that does is give you the mindset of preparation. I'm a huge Boy Scout. You have to be prepared. You have to set yourself up because no one else is going to do it for you. And don't ask someone else to set up your financial future. That's your responsibility. And the only way to do that is be aware of certain projects, certain legislation that's out here that's supposed to be going for you. A lot of times it's not. All right, so let's move on to the last one. Hold on. New share. Bear with me. Not cooperating. Okay, are we looking at climate?
Yes.
Thank you. This one right here is crazy. This was the longest one. This took 3 days because I had to come to it, go back, look this up, come back to it, put this in, take that out. Urgency of climate crisis. So there's two things going on with this question or this particular subject. One, you have to be aware of what climate is and which climate we're talking about. It's not always weather. And that's why this one took so long, because there's a climate in political awareness that we're in the Stone Age with. There is a climate of decency, treatment of human being that we're in the Stone Age with. There's a climate of course, weather. There's a climate on almost every level of understanding that we participate in as human beings. But for argument's sake, and for the worth of this paper, I'm going to go with the scientific weather climate. Now, again, I had to take a lot of stuff out because if you get talking about what's actually happening, what's supposed to happen, you can get, into a lot of trouble. Some things you don't want to have a full conversation about openly because certain people get upset. Okay, so you have to dive around, and this was the cleanest I could make it without causing any ripples. Scientific consensus. There is an overwhelming scientific agreement that climate change is driven primarily by human activities. Yes and no. And this is, like I said, this was a really difficult paper, so awesome request. You have to look at what is actually happening, who is actually responsible for this first sentence, human activities. It's not actually the human activities, it's the byproducts of human intervention or human inventions. Okay, so again, the activities of humans, particularly the burning of fossil fuels. They always jump to that. They always go to, oh, well, if you weren't driving a car, it wouldn't be putting out this, and you should buy an electric car, so you only use the sun to drive. What about the byproduct? What's coming from the electric car that is killing all of us? What is coming from the plants that create the plastic seats, the plastic this, all the plastics that are in those cars? Because there's no engine, so you have more space, you have more cargo. So you now have to make those cargo areas watertight, and it's more plastic and material to create a cabinet. Okay. And then you have to look at what is the byproduct of an electric car. Oh yeah, it's great because all you have to do is plug it in and you can go for miles. Yeah, no stopping for gas, no burning fuel. But how much fuel did the company burn to create it? And if you look at an electric car, and I'm just picking on one thing, because they said fossil fuels. So I'm looking at transportation. If you look at a car, or an electric car for this matter, it not only has all the plastics and all of the pollution that was created to create the car, but then you have to look at the battery. Just like any toy that you play with, you have ever played with, you put the batteries in, you play with it, then all of it starts slowing down and stops, right? What do? Pick up the toy, open the back, grab those two AA's, throw them in the garbage, grab two new AA's, stick them in the toy, and keep on playing. Now, throwing it in the garbage. Were you explained to how to properly dispose of a battery? Do you know that information?
No.
Most people have no idea.
Right.
Most people have no idea how that works. Now we're talking about a battery the size of my counter. About 4 foot, 3 foot by 4 foot, about 6 to 9 inches deep. It's a big block. When that thing goes dead and no longer able to charge it, you have to take it out of the vehicle. And do what? Throw it in the trash. Now, when we're talking about global warming and we're talking about that time climate change, the activities of man is the greatest participant. That battery, when you throw it away, now is a caustic, cancer creating, nuclear waste producing all sorts of toxic waste that ease out of it once it dies. You can't throw it in the garbage. You can't grind it up. You can't burn it. So what do? You put it in the ground. Put it in the ground. Then all that toxins and whatnot go into the ground. What if every car, like if you look at the weather, you have a flood in a specific state. Let's say there's 300, 400 cars. And water get to a battery, that battery is no longer any good. So now you have 400 cancer causing, nuclear causing devices in the ground. So yes, primarily by human activity. So when you look at climate interference and does it exist? Absolutely. Absolutely. Global policy landscape. Everybody around the world's doing the same thing. So eventually there's going to be a point where there's nowhere to put them. What do you do with them then? So electric cars is not the answer. Fossil fuels is not the answer. But there's other things that we can use. Water. There is a hydrogen process that uses water and solar that creates hydrogen, and the vehicle can run off of that hydrogen. Not yet. So the global policy and landscape would have to agree to using something like water or hydrogen. If you go online, you can look them up, hydrogen vehicles, or how they can power certain things with water. I saw one on the other day on a YouTube where they converted a generator that used to run off of gas, simple conversion. They put water in it, turned the power source to it, which was solar. It created the bubbles in the tank, and he started up the generator, and it ran off of water. So to look at the global policy landscape, most of them do not want to accept the clean environment because there's no money made off of it. Gas, they make money. Electric, they make money, but they destroy the planet. What's the number one provider of gas that causes all the pollution? And a lot of people don't even know it. There's one participant that puts most, if not all, of the bad gases into the air. And you're going to laugh, kind of, when you hear, and I can assure you that they're 100% correct. And that would be Mr. Cow. The cow's manure and flagellants is so powerful that if they collected it, they could run a nuclear plant for 10 years. And this is happening every day. All the cows around the world. So there's a lot. Like I said, there's a lot to this. Technological innovation is basically using some of the tactics, carbon capture, which is, again, the cow's manure and the gases that come out the back end. If they could capture it, they could use it. And it's happening on a daily basis, all day, all night. And a lot of people don't know that. Economic implications. So what is that? How do they make money off of it? Can they make money off of climate issues? Absolutely. Because they can tell you to buy this, they can make you buy that, they can stop you from having this type of system. They can create new systems and make you buy them. Okay? Social justice and equality doesn't exist. Political and public will. That's always going to be a head knocker because we think one way, they think another. Everything that they think political has to do with how much money they can make off of us. We're trying to just eat, feed the babies, pay the bills. They're trying to figure out how to create thunderstorms. There are devices that they have, that they use, and have used. If you look up in the sky, you see that foolishness going on with the stripes across. Yeah. People were killed when they talk about those things. So I'm not going to add to it, but you know what I'm saying. There are things that are being used against the actual planet itself to cause strife so that they can make money. Okay? Always remember they're about making money off of strife. If they create the strife, then they create the income. Okay? I'm gonna move on. Like I said, it's so much. My conclusion on it is, does it exist? Absolutely. Is it man-made or created? Absolutely. Can we change it? Only if we wake up. Only if we make the decision to do the different things instead of going with the mundane, do it every day, go get in a car, drive 600 miles, throw trash in the water, throw trash on the ground, use plastic. If we continue to do the same things we're doing, absolutely. We create our own misery. And climate is one of them, but it has many different meanings. It's not just weather. Okay? It's never just weather. That's the one everybody goes to because that's the easiest conversation to have, sort of. Okay? I'm done. What grade do I get? Q&A, let's go.
A plus 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 plus. Excellent performance.
All right. Um, I do want to say this, and I need to get this information to all of you today. Today's the 24th. As you know, we are trying to go into, I don't know whether it's going to be a mechanical test or a physical monetary test. But what I said a couple weeks ago now, I think, I told you guys, all of you are going in first. So depending on what I hear from the programmer Monday, if it's a mechanical test, great. If it's a physical cash test, then funds need to be acquired, which I have enough, I think, for the 7 of you that are here. And then we'll dig and see to make sure, because we don't want to miss the other 3 or 4 that just have not been able to make these calls because all this time switching and what have you in life. But like I said, I need you guys in first. And the reason I'm doing it like this is simple. You are the future. And all of you are going to do one thing or another. You're going to go to college. 2 of you are already in college. And I'm sure a few more are going. My objective and my mindset has always been the future. So if we do what we're supposed to do as elders, which is to make sure you have a good foundation, then everything worked. It was worth it. So depending on what I find out, I'm going to need to contact all of you directly. Okay, so it's going to be a phone call, it's going to be a link sent, and it's going to be a sign up. And the funds will be transmitted so that you can do what you need to do. Now, again, the only way we do this right is to do it right. Step 1. So look out for an email, I would say by next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, whether it's going to be alive or are we going to go mechanical? I don't know yet. If it's live, then we got to get you in. Period. No question. All right. Now, what that means is all of you will have to be patient. Every one of you. You won't be able to withdraw anything. You won't be able to do anything of that. But you will be able to log in and look at your back office. When I get the thumbs up that the money moved like it's supposed to, it went to such and whatnot, whatever. Once I am 100% safe, good to go, I'm going to jump on and make an announcement or call all of you or get all of you on a call similar to this. And it's going to be a education where we discuss what those funds are used for. I know mom and dad, of course, have already told you or said something similar to what I'm going to say. These funds are for your future. These funds belong to you. Only, I think, 2 of you can make any decisions as of yet. But you have to be 21 to touch it. And I did that for a reason. Simply because we all know that when we make it too easy, there will be no input, there will be no work. And that's the last thing I want to do. Yes, you will have funds. Yes, you will have access to them. Yes, you will be able to withdraw them through mom and dad, auntie, grandma, whoever it is. But the bulk of those funds that are going to be in your back office need to stay there or on your bank. They should be moved to the bank until you're 21. Or you wind up in college, like Jaden, Keith Ann, and soon Caleb. Those are the 3 that will be able to withdraw. I'm not being one-sided because they're girls or whatever. No, it's because they're actually in an institution that requires monetary movement. Simple as that. So they will have access to their funds only for school or school things. The rest of you get to watch it. Now, am I going to sit here and say, well, you got whatever in your account and you need braces, you got to go to mom and dad to get the braces? No, you go to your funds and get the braces. But it's going to be done by your what's the word? Somebody help me. Mom, dad, whoever. Okay. No one should be in those accounts doing things they shouldn't be. All right. I wanted to put that out there because you guys are going to move first. Everybody's coming behind you, including me. All right. So that's the premise of what's going on. A lot of it's going to be so easy to see. Things are moving already. Okay. Any questions?
Yes, Mr. Lewis, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
First and foremost, thank you for answering the questions that I gave you last week. I enjoyed your explanations on all of it. I didn't know about Project 2025 being involved with AI and how it was generated using that. That was interesting to learn. But I do have a question about the emails that we are supposed to create. It's come to my attention that we are not supposed to use the same domain, like, Jaden Monet APD. We're not supposed to create the same one, and it's not supposed to look similar. I know that. But what about our first and last name? Like, will
Okay.
that still come up as spam as well? Are we supposed to be using that? Those emails for, I believe it was Team Royal.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
So
okay that we're using our first and last names, just like the email
yes,
itself has to be different.
the email itself has to be different. So you can even go as far as, and I wouldn't. I've heard people say, well, you can just put a number behind it. That's fine, but you have to remember corporate is looking at these accounts, and they really don't want people to do what I'm doing because they don't want it taken advantage of. But the purpose of what I'm doing is to create the momentum for us and them. So If we make those emails different, like you could use Mickey Mouse, or being a female, Minnie Mouse, at gmail.com, and then you could go with tweetybird at gmail.com. There's your two email addresses. They're different. But the end of the day, the funds and the finances and or the resources go to you, to your account. That makes sense?
Yes, so it's okay that I'm, just so there's clarity, it's okay that I'm putting my name, Jaden Emmanuel, on all of those different emails. Because when you go through setting up a Gmail account, the first thing it asks you is for your first and last name. It's
Yeah,
okay that
you can use something totally different. Doesn't have to have your full first and last. Like I said, you could I don't know, what's your favorite character?
Mhm. Let's say Olivia Pope for now.
Okay, so you would put Olivia Pope. Try to stay away from real names because of the simple fact it could be somebody and then they'll have access to it or they could take it. Use fictitious names. You don't want them all saying Jaden such and such.
Okay. Okay. Got it. Thank you so much.
Right. Now the tail end of that information, the birth date, that type thing, that has to be right because when you go, let's say you forget the password and they reset it, they're going to reset it to the phone number, the birth date, that type of all that information has to stay the same, but the actual email address itself, that can be anything.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Mr. Lewis, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So to piggyback off of what you said about the electric car, do you think they use them as a form of control where they can turn cars on and off?
Yep. Remember, a computer, let's say this is a car, and you know for a fact that if someone calls you, it just comes to the phone and starts ringing. Each of those cars has an IP address. If you notice, if you look at the dashboard of one of those vehicles, try not to say the names of these companies. If you look at the dashboard, there's a giant computer on the dashboard. That computer has an IP address. If you, let's say that, you're halfway doing what they want you to do and you decide, okay, you know what, I don't want to do that. Well, they can just send a kill switch to your IP address to your car and you're not driving anywhere. And they can leave it off as long as they feel like. Total control. If this is a gas car, you can jump in that bad boy, start it up and go on down the road. They don't like you having so much freedom. This current situation that we're in. So yes, it's a control aspect. They can turn it off when they want, just like that CBDC. You can turn your money off if they don't like what you're buying.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Question?
Any other questions?
Do you think there would be more than one type of mark of the beast, or just the one by yourself?
Just the one.
No. Okay, thank you.
Anybody else?